Welcome to my tutorial for Pinball Quest for the NES. And this is going to be showing a playthrough of the RPG mode, which is really the only mode that you can beat. It took me around 2 hours and 47 minutes to beat, but after you watch this tutorial, I should be able to break it down for you so that you can probably beat the game pretty quick. It's really a very easy game, you just need to know what to do. So if you can spend a lot of time wasting a lot of time not knowing what items to get and what exactly to do. But this should make everything very clear. This was definitely a unique game for the system. I owned this back then. And it was interesting to see a pinball game, break into another genre as far as being a pinball and an adventure type of game. With boss fights and shit like that. It was pretty unique at the time. It's not something you really saw. I mean, there were games like that definitely later on. And there are other pinball games that have kind of broken that mold, but this is the first one that I played that had kind of a unique take on the pinball mechanic. The ball physics in this game aren't great though. I mean the game doesn't play perfectly by any means, but it's a pretty good game. But there is a lot of luck and tedium involved because you get sent back. Whenever you lose a ball, you get sent back to the previous table. So you're going to be replaying tables again and again. You're not going to want to replay them, but you're going to get sent back to them over and over again. What I did was, actually, I was stealing a lot in the beginning. I wasn't making any purchases, and I was just stealing. And what happens every time you try to steal from the shop owner, the shops are between each table when you beat a table. And when you get sent back, you also get sent back to the shop. So what I did was every time I got access to the shop, I would steal. And I probably grinded that out for much longer than I should have. But you lose half your gold every time you steal. And most of the time you don't get any items for stealing. So it's not the best thing to do. But I saw in a video that, in a playthrough, that someone stole and they got the devil flipper early on. Which is, you have to be extremely lucky to get that. So I don't recommend stealing heavily. I would say try it a few times in the beginning and see what you can grab, but you're probably not going to want to do it for too long because your chances of getting like the devil flipper is extremely low. So I stole for a long time and wasn't able to get it. So to save you time, I would say try stealing in the beginning for a little while and then save your money. Save it up and just buy the devil flipper from the store for $50,000. You also want to buy the permanent stopper. I believe that's $30,000. You want those two items. Those are permanent items that, even if you use them, they never go away. You do have to equip the permanent stopper on each stage, but it never gets wasted. And what that does is that gives you buffers on the sides so the ball can't go down the sides. So that'll help you majorly. See, here I use the permanent stopper in the menu. You hit select to go into the menu. And I think I equipped the other things too, but the permanent stopper is the main thing that you're going to use. The other stuff is pretty much garbage. So I recommend only getting the permanent stopper and the devil flipper, and when you're actually ready to beat the stages and progress through the game, then you can start buying center stopper, which the center stopper with the permanent stoppers makes it very hard to lose a stage. So you're going to want that when you're ready to push through. But initially I'm going to recommend farming in the game. And by farming, I mean just grinding money. And if you want to steal, keep stealing. But that's going to take really long to get all the items that you want. It's not many items, but they're just very rare to get. I got the permanent stoppers from stealing. Those don't seem too uncommon. So you may be able to get some permanent stoppers in the beginning from stealing. Once you get the permanent stopper, though, I would recommend to stop stealing and just start saving your money. And save it up so that you can buy the next item that's going to be permanent as well is the devil flipper. That's going to give you a stronger flipper that does much more damage to bosses. It kills the final boss in 3 hits, and of course that's going to kill all the other bosses much faster too. So the only thing with the devil flipper is that it can stop working. At times it will just stop working, and you will lose a ball occasionally because of that. That's just one of the trade-offs of the devil flipper. If you don't like that, you can just go with the strong flipper, which doesn't do as much damage, but it still does good damage to bosses. It can kill the final boss in 5 hits, so that's another option. I prefer the devil flipper, though, because it kills the final boss in 3 hits, and I'd rather just use that. So I recommend getting that. And, if once you buy those items, you will not lose them. The Devil Flipper or the Strong Flipper, it will last forever. So you don't have to buy it again. It may still be in the store, but, just don't purchase it again. You already have it. When you buy the Devil Flipper, you'll actually be able to tell because your flippers will they'll turn pink, so you'll know that you have it equipped. You don't have to equip those. As soon as you buy them, they'll automatically be equipped. And everything else you need to go in the menu and equip it, including the permanent stoppers have to be equipped on every table. Which is strange. I mean, they should just stay equipped, but you have to go in the menu and equip them. But they don't waste. But the center stoppers do waste. When you buy the center stopper and use it, you will waste those. So you will have to buy those for $8,000 every time you want to use one. As far as the boss fights, all you have to do is hit the boss with the ball. Now, some bosses have projectiles, which you may want to hit with the ball so that they don't hit your flippers. If the projectiles hit your flippers, they can damage you. You do have some life. It's shown above where it says AT on the bottom left of the screen. There's going to be life. I have 0 right now, but usually you get some kind of health. I don't know what that AT stands for. I never figured that out. I mean, you would think attack power, but I don't think it has anything to do with that because I think that's related to your flipper choice. So I don't know what AT is. Now see where it says gold. It only shows your gold where it says G when you're in the shops. So that's the only time you can see how much you have. But the way you get gold is just by playing tables. You can fail them. Just keep playing, killing enemies in the tables, and eventually you'll grind up enough gold to buy the items that I mentioned. You're going to want to have the permanent stopper and the Devil Flipper. Those are the only 2 items that you really want to have. Now, once you have those 2 items, which cost about $80,000, $50,000 for the Devil Flipper and $30,000 for the permanent. Now, of course, if you stole stuff, you will not have to pay all the money, but it depends if you're able to steal that. Like I said, though, I don't recommend stealing for too long. Once you get the permanent stopper, you probably don't want to steal anymore because you're probably going to not get the Devil Flipper anytime soon by stealing. It's very rare. It's completely random, so it's just going to be a chance game. This stage is very irritating because every time you get into this area, you have to go through 2 different luck scenarios. One is you want the ball to go into the hole with the ring around it, the white ring around it. And after it goes in that hole, then further than that, you need the ball to then go into a boat. And sometimes the boat is not available because there's just like this circular little floating thing available. And if you get that, then you can't make it up to the top. So you got to go through various layers of luck-based bullshit to get through this part. So it's just tedious. There's no challenge to it. It's just you're going to have to wait around and keep going in there until you get through. Eventually you will get through, but it's all luck-based. This is the most tedious level because of that. And then when you get to the top, you still have to take out these knights, and it's very easy to fall back down again. So it's just a long process. But what I recommend doing is once you get both the Devil Flipper and the permanent stopper, then you can start trying to go for the final push to beat the game. Before that, I don't really recommend trying to beat all the stages because it doesn't really, you're not going to be that well equipped to do it. I mean, you can try to do it, but you're going to have a better chance if you have your best items when you go there. So I wouldn't really worry about what levels you're on at that point. Just keep playing. If you beat a stage, keep going. If you fail, keep playing. You'll rack up money anyway by playing. Some stages you can get more money than others. So some of them you may want to, play more frequently. But overall, I would say just keep playing until you get the money. It's not hard to do. If you keep playing the tables, there's no penalty for continually dying. The only thing that will happen is you'll get sent back to the first table again. But it doesn't matter, like I said, because you're still getting money. So all that money will carry over. So yeah, once you get 80,000, buy both the permanent stopper and the Devil Flipper. Ignore the strong flipper. You don't need the strong flipper. It's just a waste of money. I mean, I'd rather get the Devil Flipper with the extra damage, even though they do shut off sometimes in the middle of playing. But it wasn't enough of a problem for me, to not get it. Because you'll kill the final boss before it can really do much of anything. So. Once you have those 2 items, then I recommend saving up maybe another 20,000 gold. And the reason for that is because you want to have a center stopper for each stage to pretty much guarantee that you're going to beat the stage. See, because if you have the center stopper and you have those permanent stoppers on the side, you're pretty much never going to lose a stage. I mean, it's very hard to lose at that point. You can, but it's going to be very hard. The center stopper can take a lot of hits before it breaks. I can't even remember if I ever broke one, and I've had it get hit a lot. But I believe it breaks after a certain amount of hits. But the center stopper will go between your flippers, making it very hard for the ball to get in between the flippers and for you to lose the ball. And of course, you're going to have the sides covered because you're going to have the permanent stoppers, which never break. And you can use them on every stage. So I recommend having enough money to be able to buy a center stopper for each stage. So I would say you want to have at least 20 to 40,000 gold. 20,000 is probably good enough because you can earn some gold just beating the stages again anyway. So that may be enough. If you want to be safe, maybe going with 30,000. But yeah, that's it. Once you have that money, you can buy the center stopper, and you're going to have your permanent stoppers and your devil flippers at that point. So the rest of the game is very easy after that. So here I was still trying to steal shit, which I did late into the game, but that's why I can save you a lot of time by telling you that stealing is not going to be really that good for too long, because eventually it just doesn't really... You're going to be waiting a long time to try to get that devil flipper, So yeah, at this point, I'm just equipping my items. I got the center and the permanent stoppers equipped. And I don't have my devil flippers yet at this point in the game. And you can still beat the stages without the best flipper. But of course, if you just have the base flippers, like right now I just have the base flippers, this guy's going to take a lot of hits, this boss. So I'm going to be fighting him for a while. Now, one thing I learned later was that made it a lot easier is if you press up to move the flippers up as you would normally do, because you have to move the flippers to different areas by pressing up and down, you move them to different areas. But if you press up here, you can actually move the flippers up a notch, and you can fight the boss. You can have the flippers up right nearby that bed, and it makes it much, much easier. I didn't know that until later, so I'm not showing where I beat it that way. I'm showing my first time beating this boss, which is where I didn't know about that, where I can move the flippers up. So just keep that in mind, when you fight this boss, move the flippers up, you'll make it easier. Either way, it's very easy, though, because, you have the center stopper and the permanent stopper. So, now the center stopper doesn't work in this upper area, but it works at the very bottom, so it'll keep your ball from exiting the stage, which is the main thing. The ball can still escape, obviously, if you lift one of the flippers up and it goes underneath it. But it mostly prevents that from happening. It makes it hard to lose. So what you have to do here is basically just keep hitting the woman, and then a demon is going to come out. Just hit that with the ball as much as you can. Eventually that will die, and then... See, that demon will eventually die, and then you have to hit the bed a few times. And once you do that, you'll open up a secret passage to the final boss. Now, at this stage, I wasn't actually ready to fight the final boss because I didn't have the good flippers and all that shit. I had the permanent stoppers, but I didn't have the devil flipper. I was still saving up for the devil flipper, so... I was unsuccessful in beating the boss with just the base flippers. I tried. I did get a few hits in, but... If you want to pretty much guarantee a win, you want to get the devil flipper. But yeah, it can be tedious. It's kind of a pain in the ass to even get in this area with the flipper, but it's not dangerous because if you have a center stopper, you're not going to lose, most likely. So it's just a matter of time before you get through these stages with the items that I mentioned. But I would say don't start buying center stoppers until you're ready for the final push, to beat the game. Until you have both your devil flipper and your permanent stoppers. Once you have that stuff, you can save up some money and start buying some center stoppers. But I would recommend having like at least 30,000 or so saved so that you can buy a center stopper for each stage. And then pretty much you won't have to worry about getting sent back to the previous stages anymore at that point, because you're probably not going to fail with those. That was my strategy, was to have enough money to buy the center stoppers for each stage. And once I did that, I pretty much made it straight through and beat the game. So here I buy the devil flipper. See, they're like purple now, so that's the devil flipper. use your center and permanent stoppers, and now you only have to hit the boss 3 times to kill it. So there's really not much to explain with that. Just keep, aiming up at the top. Eventually you'll get hits in. When the boss turns red, obviously you've hit him, so you only have to do that 3 times with the devil flipper. Just be ready to bring your flippers down or you will lose the ball. You have to bring the flippers back down to catch the ball when it gets knocked down a layer or a level. But there's really not much to know about this fight aside from just keep hitting the ball back up and hit the boss, and that's it. And see, after one more hit, the boss will be dead. So very easy when you know what to do. You can beat the game pretty quickly. Aside from having to farm money, I mean, now you don't really have to do that if you know the game well enough. You can just try to speed run it or whatever. But otherwise, the game feels like there's a lot of luck involved. But you really minimize the chance of losing when you have the permanent stopper, the center stopper, and the devil flipper. And really, that's the only thing you really need to know. I could have summed it up in a little description, is just to get those 2 items and then save your center stoppers for last. Have your money ready and just buy center stoppers for each level. And really, that's all you need to know, pretty much. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.